This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Soonerscoop LASIKs.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo here from the Soonerscoop.com studios on historic Campus Quarter, and it's over. Oklahoma loses.
Are you sure? What?
They're not going to win a national championship this year. Texas Tech wins 3-2 on Monday night in the first game of what would have been, I guess, the first game. It was the only game. Oklahoma's not able to force a second game, but they didn't go down without a fight. What an unbelievable seventh inning for Oklahoma, for Abigail Dayton hitting a two-run bomb with 2 strikes. I mean, you all but had wrote the obituary for the Oklahoma
I had
softball
600
season.
words typed. It was really good, too.
They'll never see the light of day because Abigail Dayton ties the game in the top of the 7th. Then you go to the bottom half, and Oklahoma misplays the fly ball in right field. It kind of opens the door after a single to lead off the inning, or I guess a one-out single there in the inning, and the game comes to an end on a walk-off sac fly to right field. But, man, to get to that point, unbelievable, heroic swing for Abigail Dayton that, like, it's probably going to get lost in the mix a little bit because they ended up losing the game. But what a moment that was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was, like, are you kidding me? Like, we know she had at-bats against Nijaree, Canady back when it was, Utah versus Stanford. So she was familiar.
Sure.
Maybe the most familiar of anyone in the entire lineup. But you still don't expect that. And her first at-bat, it carried to the warning track. Second at-bat, really got even deeper into the warning track. And this one, she did not miss. Changeup that she pulled, got a hold of it. She has 3 home runs this season. One against Carlin Pickens in the regular season. One against Canady in the Women's College World Series. But just what a phenomenal, just 20-minute whirlwind between OU fighting back. So, like, we're not going to give up the crown that easy to Canady bouncing back to strike out Pickering.
Absolutely.
Because I thought, this could get bad.
Yeah.
Pickering get a hit. Ella hits a 2-run shot. And now we're looking at
you're looking at another game. And it was going to be a late night over there at Devon Park if that happened.
Instead, she responds. And then Texas Tech and Jerry Glasgow even, not joking. He was dead serious postgame. I thought they were going to tie it. It's like, it's not going to be easy. Something's going to happen. We're just going to have to be ready for it. OU will not go down that easy. It's going to be a lot twists and turns. Sure enough, give credit to Tech the way they fought back. Bottom of the 7th, just a tremendous, this Women's College World Series between whatever happened with UCLA and Tennessee, during the 10-inning marathon with Ole Miss and Oregon. We're so far removed now that Ella Parker against Carlin Pickens isn't even registering anymore. Just an incredible initial week. Very fun to watch what happens between Texas Tech and Texas.
And damn you, Jerry Glasgow, because you seem like the best person ever that I would want to go get a beer with. It's like I don't want to like this guy, but he is tremendous. Congratulations to Texas Tech, because I do think like the OU side of it obviously sucks to lose, but what a feat for Texas Tech and Nijaree Canady. Obviously, the NIL payment that was certainly talked about on the broadcast over the course of the Women's College World Series.
I'm glad.
I'm sure that it will be too.
That's awesome.
Going into Wednesday night against Texas. That'll be your championship series. But unbelievable run. I think that we'll hear from Patty Gasso here in a second, but it was one of those, I think they surprised themselves a little bit getting this far, getting back to a national semifinal, 52-9 on the year.
52-9, and it's a disappointment.
Sure.
I mean, that's the way it rolls, though. It's like they exceeded everyone's expectations except for maybe their own.
Sure.
Because as Patty joked often during this last week at Devon Park, 0 celebrations. When they beat Oregon, no one can. Like, you're going to the semifinals. A bunch of you are like freshmen that have no way you've experienced anything close to this type of moment. And it was just business as usual. But I mean, we will say not every freshman was able to bring their best stuff, and I'm sure they would love to have more chances out at Devon Park. But an incredible season, a wild ride to where we thought they'd be station to station. We thought they'd all be about their speed. Instead, they became a power hitting club that had more than 50% of their runs scored via the long ball throughout the course of the year. But this future sets up incredibly nicely. That's what I was like. You can't say the dynasty's over. Just say the championship run is over. There's no way you can suggest or make that type of statement to say this dynasty is done.
I think we did see, going all the way back to Saturday and the 4-2 loss to Texas, the first loss of the Women's College World Series for Oklahoma, that put them in the elimination game against Oregon on Sunday night. That was kind of the first time that we had seen this group, or maybe Oklahoma just in general, they looked young. They looked young against Texas, not being able to manufacture runs. Second and third, right? I believe in the 5th or 6th inning, and you're not able to tie it when it was still 2-1, still within reach.
Yeah, I mean, credit Tegan Kavan, who I had written off not only after OU, but after game 1 of Clemson, the Supers. I was like, Kavan is so done. I'm not sure if she'll be an ace ever again. And instead, she's been lights out ever since. Only learning as I get to the post-game press conference that her grandmother had died that morning.
Crazy.
That was just a crazy atmosphere, or just scenario, and all the emotions that were going through her throughout the course of that game. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even I have to write it, but I still think OU might come back and win. They earned that right, especially at their Ella Parker against Pickens. She's like, you had to wait till the final out, and what a massive moment that was for the Horns. And we knew it was like, this is going to make it really, really tough for OU, especially if Tech can get by the Bruins, and you're looking at going a rested Nijaree Canady on Monday night. Whew. Let's see how it goes.
We forget about the, you mentioned the Clemson-Texas series. They had their backs against the wall. Certainly in game 2 of the Super Regional, Clemson kind of in the same spot that Oklahoma was in to a certain extent, with second and third, less than 2 outs, and you have an opportunity to knock them off, to get them out of there. And Texas comes back and wins. All right, we do want to say, too, Nijaree Canady on Monday night, before you got to the 7th inning, as dominant as you can possibly get.
I mean, that's the only, try to work her, try to get it deep in the count. She is so efficient.
It's unbelievable.
You don't get to those 3-ball counts. You're like 0-1, 0-2 before you blink. And I believe maybe the foul ball Abby hit on the 0-2 count, that might have been pitch 100 for Canady. Where Sam was, she was gritty.
Sure.
That's been the word du jour the last 2 months with Sam Landry. Gritty, but not dominant. Nijaree she doesn't waste pitches. She is so efficient at what she's able to do, and that's why if anyone can pitch, if it ends up being a 3-game set against the Horns, if anyone can do all 3, it's Nijaree.
Oh, yeah. I don't expect anybody else in the circle, and Tech did just enough manufacturing runs. Demi Elder with the RBI triple in the second off.
Oh, did that just work in the wrong spot? Yeah, the shift on with Sydney Barker shading towards center, and it's a down the right field line. Anything else, I don't know if it's an RBI, and it's definitely not a triple.
Sure.
But that's just the way it worked out in that moment.
And then, Bailey Lynn Myth comes up, and she gets the single, and all of a sudden it was like 2-0. And against a pitcher like Nijaree Canady, it's like, well, this is over. Like, you have to get runners on, and they had opportunities.
Yeah, because go back to the top of the second. You have first and third with 2 outs. Like, you're going to have to take advantage of this. Instead, Tech does in the bottom half of the inning. And that was maybe worst case. Like, you want, if it's like 0-0 in the 6th, like, pressure's mounting on both teams.
Sure.
But being 2-0 through 2, he's like, boy, you're looking at that's an uphill climb, especially going against Nijaree. A lot of pressure in the world there.
I also thought, and we'll get to Patty and some of Ella Parker, as well as Sydney Sanders, who ended her career with an incredible game against Oregon. We can talk about that. But I thought, coming out of the 7th, when Canady's able to get through the rest of the Oklahoma lineup, those were going to be the 3 hardest outs of the season to come from the emotions that came with the top of the 7th, and basically thinking the season is over, to having to go back out into the arena, basically.
And it worked out that you were turning the order over for Tech. Maya Davis was coming, Haley Toney was coming up, Lauren Allred. You had Nijaree on deck circle. Like, you were going to have to fight through it.
Intentionally walk the girl to get to Canady with 1 out. Like, it didn't ultimately matter, but...
And it wasn't hit that deep, and I don't know if Barker was caught by surprise or not, but, Glasgow said in the postgame, like, Maya Davis, one of the fastest in the entire country. Didn't matter where that was hitting. I was going to send her, and,
And you can get through the leadoff single, but I don't know. I thought she misplayed the fly ball and left Cassidy Pickering, and it ends up costing you. And not to say that was the one play that did, but the season comes to an end.
Strange scenario there because you were like 5 feet away from a walk-off home run.
Yeah.
And you were also just inches away from it being caught. I don't think they would have doubled Maya up. That obviously they would have had the second out there, but yeah, it's just weird how it just be a game of inches like that.
Absolutely. All right, we did hear from Patty Gasso as well as Ella Parker and Sydney Sanders following the stunning. I don't want to say collapse because that's not it. Just a stunning 7th inning that ended Oklahoma City's season.
It's hard to lose. This was the most enjoyable season I've had in a long time, and us as coaches really feel that. Everybody kind of jumped on board with us. They believed in what we were saying. They carried on the championship mindset. They grinded on the field every single day. And there's some future superstars on this team, and I'm really excited about that. But they had to grow through Sid Sanders and some of these others that have been around, Ella Parker. We're still going to be a young team next year, but extremely excited about it. I just don't want to think about it right now because this does feel they've done some miraculous things, and you witnessed one that just happened not long ago with the walk-off with 2 strikes and it being Abby Dayton. So their ability to believe has been unbelievable this season.
I'm just so proud of all this team has accomplished, especially just coming from the fall to now. We've grown so much together, and just to see the amount of growth we've taken as a team, it's just so cool to see where we ended up. And we're never going to give up without a fight, so just being able to overcome that.
I honestly think it was like a very cinematic way to go out. God's presence was shown. Abby literally came up 0-2 and hit a ball. Like, that is insane. Like, I don't know. I'm still in shock. I think it was a great way to go out, honestly. I'm very proud of this team. Especially, we literally had 14 new players. That is something that you've never seen before. Coming to the World Series, everybody was against us. We ended up in the semifinals, and I think this team's going to go a long way, regardless of if I'm not here or not. So I'm very proud to end my career like this.
Probably easier to walk away with knowing that you got a couple rings already in the in the closet. But Sydney Sanders' career does end. They don't get to Monday night without her heroics on Sunday night in the 4-1 win over Oregon. She goes 2 for 3 with 2 home runs. Something I didn't realize, she was like 5th active home runs in college softball. I guess I'm an idiot for not paying attention to something like that. But I think the one like theme, as you heard from Sydney Sanders there, they're returning everybody, as you kind of hinted at earlier in the program, was the fact that you could say that the dynasty has ended. That's fine. I don't think that Oklahoma is going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I just thought the biggest disappointment is that it's Sam Landry that's the ace that doesn't get the championship.
Sure.
Because she earned it. She pitched like it. She was gritty. She threw almost every single inning at Devon Park except for 2 2/3 of Kirsten Deal on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And this was her one shot. She made the most of it, as she would say often in the last month. I'm going to empty that tank. She emptied it. She's got nothing. She had nothing left, and she gave everything she had. Not saying that means that's why she deserved a championship, but it's just weird to think that she's the ace that didn't get it done. A lot of those other transfers will get another shot. We know those freshmen, if they decide to stay in Norman, will be lingering around championship chances. But Sam did everything possibly that she could in her one season, and now you start turning the page. And
what just a terrible situation. Not terrible, but having to go against Texas Tech, her former head coach Nijaree Glasgow, the 4 or 5 teammates on the Texas Tech team. I know they talked about that during the post game.
All red, including the one that.
I didn't even realize. That's insane.
So yeah, but the emotions that Nijaree Glasgow showed, I think some people were wondering if that was legit. And then when Sam starts talking about Nijaree, this is deeper than softball. This goes a lot more beyond that. And so just the way they all handled that moment, which obviously was incredibly tough. and just, a incredible career that now as the number 1 overall pick of the AUSL. Like,
Sure.
As she quote tweeted like an hour ago, I'll be back at Love Field here in a couple of weeks when the Volts come to Norman.
I can imagine. It does seem like, though, the future here, it's incredible. I mean, you look at the signing class that they brought in. I think that it was quoted as maybe Patty's best class to ever come in, which is scary considering what we just saw from a number of the freshmen, including Sydney Barker, who was excellent on Monday night, going 3 for 3.
Yeah, even if all 3 of those hits, we know they weren't monster shots by any means.
Sure.
She got on. They found a way to get on. And that was a great response from her. Because she started Thursday against Tennessee in the 3 hole. They dropped her to the 5. And then on Monday, she's in the 7. It's like, you've got to start bringing something, or else we might have to go Hannah Core. We want your bat, but if your bat's not producing, we're going to have to make a change here. But yeah, you look at what she was able to do. You had moments, between Gabby Garcia, Nelly McMarinas, and then you start wondering, and we'll probably get into that, it's like, where do some of these other freshmen or some sophomores who didn't play as much, where do they believe they stand going into 2026?
No doubt about it. Here is a little bit more from Patty Gasso as well as Sydney Barker talking about the lessons learned from 2025.
Just extremely proud of this team, who they are first, and what they do second. And it's been a joyous ride. And if you would have ever asked me, I think I've already said this a million times, but we're standing at the World Series as one of the top 3 teams left with a team of 14 newcomers. And I just shared with them in the locker room how much fun I had with them, coaching them, watching them grow, watching them be hungry, watching them never quit. And the amount of rebounded, extra inning or last inning heroics and come from behind wins has been something incredible. So as much as I need a break, I'm really ready to have them come back and start over again, because I think we learned so much and we're going to be that much better.
13, 14 new players on this team. It was miraculous how we all came together and we were able to play together in such a way that we did and have the relationships that we did on and off the field. And regardless of what happened on the field, I think what me and my class and a lot of the young players on this team will remember is how well we all gelled together and how we used our differences and our superpowers to work together. And I think it's awesome that we can learn from our older girls here and just our veterans and our alumni and our coaches and everything of the sort.
I'm sure that a little bit of it has to do with the proximity to being here at Oklahoma City and playing, but it is kind of crazy when you look up and when they show it on the broadcast of all of the alumni sitting in the front rows right behind the dugout. Obviously, great culture in Norman. You expect them to be back to maybe even better next season. But when you come out of the season, there is going to be discussions in terms of the transfer portal. Obviously, that's open. Corey Hicks, a freshman catcher, has already entered her name. Kind of how active do you expect them to be in the portal? And with so many coming back, do you need to be that active?
See, I don't think you need to be unless your current roster dictates it.
Yeah.
Unless they decide, like a Corey Hicks.
Right.
She was the number 2 ranked catcher for her class. They've got the number 1 coming in, Kendall Wells, so people are wondering, did she see the writing on the wall? But that could happen a lot. This isn't a case of people that leave OU to enter the portal is because, they weren't good enough. They didn't belong. It's they believe they need a bigger chance. They want a much more opportunities compared to what they're getting in Norman. And that's when you start looking. And you got Nelly at third. Well, she's not going anywhere. Gabby at short. Nope. Lana at second. Nope. Maybe you bring Sid Barker to first.
Sure.
So then you shore that up. Emmerling could still come back at catcher, or if Wells ends up being as good as what you're hoping, she might be there from the jump. Then Pickering, Dayton.
Oh, they really aren't going anywhere, are they?
They are not, and you're bringing in Kai Miners, one of the number 1 player in the entire country. You look, 3 of the top 5 pitchers are coming. So it's very intriguing just based on, does Patty have to sort of wait to see what the current crop of girls is thinking before you even start to get aggressive toward anyone that might be out in the portal?
And it depends, I'm sure, on what's going to be available in the portal. From a pitching standpoint specifically. Do you want to just stick with the young arms, let them grow a little bit? You might have to go through some early setbacks along the way, right, in the non-con, and then obviously getting into conference play. But it'll be interesting to see how they kind of navigate this moving forward.
Yeah, and this has been open for a couple weeks for people that don't pay attention. It's not. It's just now that OU's out, you can really start to dive deep into it. It'll be portal closes June 16th. But as we know, we've been through this football, basketball enough to know by now. That's just when the paperwork has to be. You can make your decision whenever the heck you want going into July, and if there's a coaching change somewhere, that opens up another 30-day window for someone like how Sam Landry became a Sooner in the first place last summer. But yeah, I don't know how aggressive you can be until you see what else happens, because there are some really good players right now on this team that aren't seeing a lot of time. And
sure,
like a Tia Malloy, like a Maya Bland, like what do they think? How does Kirsten Deal view the 3 seasons she's had in Norman? The fact that she only pitched 2 innings in OKC. Is she okay with that? Is that something that told her maybe this isn't the best spot for her? But as Patty said Monday night, not going to stop anyone from going to the portal. You got to find where you're happy. You got to find where you fit best. And if it's not in Norman, that's okay. We'll help you. We'll try to get to where you can be, where you need to be.
I feel like that'd be a really intimidating conversation to have with Patty, being like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving Oklahoma when you're at one of the powerhouses of the sport. But should be interesting. The Women's College World Series Championship Series begins on Wednesday night, Game 1, Texas versus Texas Tech. If nothing else, it should be a fantastic pitching matchup with Kevon and then obviously Nijaree Canady.
I got Texas in 3. I've said it this entire week. I go, if you weren't in the OU bubble, if you didn't cheer for the Sooners, the redemption story for Texas is incredible. Sure. It just is. The number 1 seed in 2024, but I mean, just not even knocked off by OU, just waxed, just absolutely demolished by the Sooners in the championship series. And then for all of them to come back and say, let's fix this, let's get it right, and to be knocking on the door of elimination against Clemson in the supers, to now all of a sudden everything coming together at just the right moment. Or if it's Tech with Canady, the generational talent that might change the game of NIL just a little bit. People's like, wait a minute, one player actually might be the difference to where we got to go. Guaranteed,
you just got to be a generational talent.
Guaranteed first time champion. I have Texas in 3.
All right, that's Bob Przybylo for the comment section. Mike White, Texas apologist. Baseball-wise, Oklahoma season ends in the regional final. They forced an if game in Chapel Hill, but end up losing. 9-5 was the final score 14-4 was the final on Monday. 9-5 was the final on Sunday for Oklahoma to force the Game 7. But I would say good season, not a great season. And I think that when you look at like little elements within the season, they have to get better defensively. I think that we talked about that every Stickball report here over the last 2 months was the fact that it was going to come back to bite them, and it did. And I think that you just got to be more clean on the infield. You can't have your starting third baseman and your starting second baseman commit 13 errors in a season. It doesn't happen like that. You don't get out of a regional, and especially against a team like North Carolina that, as we get down to 8, they feel like one of the favorites to win this whole thing. I think they're playing that good of baseball right now. The Gavin Gallagher kid, he was out of his mind. 13 hits. He goes 13 for 18 in the UNC Regional, obviously wins the MVP. 3 home runs. It was the most hits and the most RBIs. He had 10 RBIs over the weekend. The most hits and RBIs in a regional for a UNC player since 1999. The 3 home runs in a regional were the most in a regional since 2006 for the Tar Heels. They're playing really good baseball. And, I think the one thing that you go back and you look at, you get through Nebraska in the opener, 7-4 on the Friday evening. Then you play in Saturday.
You took the chance. Malachi worked.
It worked. He was fantastic against Nebraska, which I think is, obviously a positive for him moving forward. It's going to be maybe interesting to see if he has a decision to make with the Major League Baseball draft. I would kind of think they're going to lose both Kyson and Malachi to the draft, but you have everything that you want. Like everything that's happening out in Eugene going into Saturday fit up to where Oklahoma, if they were going to win, they might have a chance to host a super regional. And you go out and you commit a couple errors in the first inning and you're down 6-0. And Kyson kind of got shelled. Let's be honest about it. Yep. He gave up 10 hits. The error certainly didn't help, but it kind of sparked what was just a miserable first inning for Oklahoma. And you come back, you win 17-1 on Sunday morning. It was an ass whooping, beat Nebraska again. And, you won Sunday night. It was a great day, like a memorable day for OU baseball on that Sunday to force the if game. And then you had the errors again in or one error in the first inning, and you just can't do that.
You can't do that. And, I mean, you knew going into Monday, you get the regional final. You're what? Your 6th, 7th, 8th arm.
Yeah.
You just have to keep punching back.
The one thing that if you go look at all the super regionals, and if they went to a game 7 and went to an if game, you have to score runs.
Yep.
And you weren't able to do it. I mean, you scored 4 runs. Drew Dickerson hit a 2-run homer in I think it was the bottom of the 3rd, and thought
3-2. You're
3-2.
all right.
Right.
Let's go.
Or it was
Let's
in
go
the bottom of the 2nd, and then top 3, you give up 5, and all of a sudden you're back down 7-2. So, you give up 4, so and you're down 7-2. So, it sucks, but I do think that you have a good nucleus coming back next year that is expected to come back at least. You have a Drew Dickerson that showed signs. I think it's going to be, we talk about the retention of football players. It's going to be very important to retain some of these guys that played a part in this thing going into the season. Jackson Willis had an up and down year. He still batted over 300, but had some errors in the field that need to be made by a guy that's in his 2nd season at Oklahoma. So, it's going to be really interesting. We were talking about the portal situation with softball. Baseball, I think, is a little bit different in that they are going to need to be extremely active.
Is it pitching more than anything?
Pitching and I think hitting. Because I do think that, and we'll take a little bit closer examination on this on Sooner Scoop in the coming weeks, but I think they're kind of in a crossroads right now of looking to play the chaos style of baseball. But to do that, you're probably going to need speedy guys that probably aren't as big physically. And then offensively, you need guys that can maybe hit a little bit more for power, especially in this league, to have success. So you look back at the first year, they win 5 of the 10 conference series. You win half of them. You finish 12th. That can be debated in terms of where did you actually finish, right? Because you got a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So, where does that stand? I don't know. I mean, I think it was a good season, but it wasn't a great season.
But SEC pissed down their leg.
They were embarrassing.
Weekend, so.
They were embarrassing. I don't know. Does misery love company type of deal? Like Texas loses in their regional. The Georgia comes back. Vandy just lays an egg to Wright State, who doesn't even end up winning the regional. It was a really weird, from a entertainment standpoint, the first round of the NCAA tournament in the men's side, the regionals. Some are saying that it might be one of the best ever. It was incredible. We'll see.
With LSU, that raucous atmosphere. And
on Monday
Little
night
Rock,
at 11 o'clock, Little Rock, the story of Little Rock was fantastic. They were 19-32 going into their conference tournament and ended up in a regional final, the if game, and they're up 5-1 in the 4th. And it was like, what the hell is going to happen? They lost 11 of 13 to end the season and had a chance to continue on to a super regional. Carrie Murdoch and I were talking about it on Monday or on Tuesday. Kind of glad they didn't, because I think that you would have got to a super regional and they would have got their ass kicked, and it wouldn't have been a good viewing experience. So now you get West Virginia going down to the box, which should be interesting between those two collection of fan bases.
Now, we know softball, again, there were only 3 seniors. Sid Sanders, Sam Landry, Bella Smith. Baseball, mass exodus of guys, or...
I don't expect a mass exodus. I think that it more would be on the portal side of things. Obviously, they didn't have a whole lot of seniors on this team, which is, it's kind of weird for baseball because you have that 3-year rule for Major League Baseball draft, and so many more people are drafted than you would, in the softball side of things, right? So Easton Carmichael, he could come back, technically. I expect him to go. I mean, he had a fantastic season. It should add to on Monday, even in a 14-3 game at the time, to have an RBI single in his last at bat. Kind of cool for him and the family, who had obviously given a lot. Darby played at Oklahoma. Braden obviously played the last couple years at Oklahoma, now Easton. But You're losing Dylan Crooks to eligibility. You're losing a Reed Hensley to eligibility, who pitched in the Game 7 as the starter. Pitched well. Just, the errors opened everything up in the first inning. So you're losing a couple guys to the senior side of things, but it's going to be interesting. Like, truly, like, just kind of having to sit around and wait and see, like, where does this guy go in the draft to really know what his future could look like. I know that, from a high school side of things, Eli Willits, certainly going to be keeping an eye on him going into July for the MLB draft. I think that he's probably, I would say it's a long shot right now for him to end up in Norman because he is projected to go in the first round possibly.
Yeah, Bobby Wood Jr., now you're going to have Willits.
I know. The kid from Edmond Santa Fe, don't expect him. He signed, but don't expect him in Norman. He's probably going to end up signing out of high school, which is a good thing. Like, you're getting really, really good signees, but when they get signed to go to how do you replace them? So we'll probably know more just in terms of what this could look like going into the fall here over the next month and a half with the Major League Baseball draft and everything else and all the decisions that have to be made from some of these high school kids. Maybe you get a situation where you get a Carter Frederick from a year ago that they were expecting to come back for this season. Then he gets drafted and they give him a big bump in pay. And it's like, well, how are you going to compete with that? So good season, not a great season. But, I think when you look at the numbers that they were having to replace from a year ago, offensively and certainly in the outfield, they got to get better out there. I think in the 7th inning, it was a blowout at the time, but you can't have a guy score from second on 2 fly balls. You got to get a little bit better arms out there. So it's going to be really interesting. Going to be really interesting going into another season with Skip Johnson. So that's going to do it. Stickball, it's over. It's kind of crazy that it's over. It feels like we just started this thing.
Ended within hours of each other.
I know, which is kind of weird, all on Monday, but fantastic seasons for both. With all that said, softball getting to the point that they did and the heroics there in the 7th inning was incredible. I couldn't get over the fact that it was like, it's the most shocking home run I can remember, like any sport, baseball or softball.
Okay, because as I'm going through it and we're getting to the 6th inning, I'm turning Ryan Chapman. I go, Nijaree's setting it up to where the 7th inning, she doesn't have to go through anything dangerous. I know. Like, if she's just who she is, she gets out of it. There's no Pickering. There's going to be no Parker. Like, she's not going to have to worry.
Who knows? I mean, it's easy to say now, and it was easy to say at the time, but if they're able to get through that 7th inning, I think they win in the 8th.
I think they win.
Or the 9th,
Absolutely.
or whenever in extras.
And I think they win the second game.
I think they win the second game, because it would have been just the effort that it would have taken mentally for Tech to dig out of that hole, knowing you're down to a strike and an out. That's all you needed. Unbelievable. All right. For Bob Przybylo, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll talk to you here next time on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.